welcome to a brand new episode of Coming Distractions, brought to you by the Nerdpocalypse podcast. I'm your host, Jay. Okay, guys, let's talk Deadpool 2. Obviously, this is a follow-up to the wildly successful first film, starring Ryan Reynolds, with Wernick and Reese coming back to write for this one as well. This time, we've got David Leitch, who's one half of the John Wick directing duo, directing this one instead of Tim Miller, who walked away early on in production. So this one gives Ryan Reynolds a couple of people to sort of play with in Josh Brolin, Zazie Beetz, Julian Dennison. Obviously, TJ Miller is back as well. So the general premise of the story is that a number of years after the first Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds' character is Wade Wilson, is fully into the world of being an assassin, and he's traveling the world, killing people. It's what he enjoys doing. He loves it. Then through a series of events, he ends up meeting this kid played by Julian Dennison named Russell. And Russell is basically a young mutant who goes by Fire Fist, which is a terrible name, who's angry that he's being hurt by somebody. And so he's starting to sort of ramp up this potential into villainy. And Deadpool comes in with the help of some other people to try to stop this kid. Meanwhile, this kid is also being hunted by Cable, played by Josh Brolin, from the future for reasons that that are made clear later on. So it's kind of a Deadpool versus Cable sort of situation, and trying to protect the kid. It's a simple plot. I would argue that the movie has sort of an undercurrent that's a little bit more serious this time than the original. That being said, it's not like all of a sudden this is like, a serious Batman film or anything like that. It is very much a Deadpool film. The crass jokes are there. Some jokes are way darker than I would expected them to go, frankly. But I'm glad they did. They were really great. All the comedy, the fun, the feel of the original is all there. So I don't want to discourage people and think, oh, this is a serious version. But there is an undergirdle of a story that's, I think, more significant. It just is than the original, which wasn't much of a story really at all. I mean, it was a basic origin story, but that wasn't really why you came for it. But this one has a little bit more to hold it together. In the midst of fighting off Cable, Deadpool decides to create a superhero team called the X-Force, and that's sort of clearly foreshadowing for things that are going to happen. But he starts his own X-Force team, which is also very cool. Look, I have to say, I thought it was really great. I don't think it necessarily captures lightning in a bottle again like the first one did. I mean, the first one had like a $75 million budget, was barely hanging on to possibly get made, and then made like $785 million, which is just crazy. I don't think it's necessarily lightning in a bottle, but what I think Deadpool 2 is they figured out what the recipe is to make this character work. And not just to make him work, but to make him work without being completely irritating. Which I could see why people would think that from the first film. Look, I'm not a huge Deadpool fan as far as the comics are concerned, but I think in the movies, they run a good balance. I think Ryan Reynolds is basically just playing himself in a suit, and it just works. So for me, I think they nailed it. Like, I really do. I think it's a good balance of, again, a good underbelly of a story, good introduction of characters. Josh Brolin playing Cable, he plays it totally straight, and it's actually really refreshing against Deadpool's like goofy silliness, which is the point of their relationship, obviously from the comics. Characters like Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, they're back. They all have their fun moments and things like that, which are really great. There's some character cameos that I was not expecting that I thought were really, really good and really well done. Obviously, I'm not going to talk spoilers, but I think people are going to be significantly happy about some people showing up, which is really cool. It's just fun. It's a fun damn movie. I can't tell you, like, if you hated Deadpool 1, it's not the film for you. But if you love Deadpool 1, you're getting a lot of the same sort of stuff, but with a better budget. The entire movie doesn't take place just on a bridge, which is nice. It's good. The writing is solid as it ever was. The action is bigger, louder, more over the top. The violence is there, and it's more violence, so that's great. I mean, I'm a fan of that. It feels like a properly done comic book movie. Like, everybody looks the part and, really understands the characters significantly. Just Josh Brolin's version of Cable is really, really good. And to see Cable on screen for the first time, this is a damn good adaptation of that. And it's also super weird to see Josh Brolin playing Cable, where we just saw him play Thanos, and they could not be more different characters, but Brolin is able to do such a good job with both of them. And I don't know. I look forward to seeing Cable in more films. There's a lot of little nuggets for people who are big comic fans and people who are not, who just like the movies. You'll enjoy it just the same. I will say this. In the trailer, they showed a lot of jokes, and a lot of people were concerned that, those are the best jokes they have, and maybe they just kind of burnt out. No, man, they're barely touching the surface. There is so much more that they left for the audience when they come to see it. So definitely check it out. It's a blast. I would argue it's a solid 4.5 out of 5. I loved it. I had a really good time with it. Ryan Reynolds, for me, is as significant to the Deadpool role at this point, cinematically, as Robert Downey Jr. is to Iron Man. I mean, if you can believe that, which is pretty wild. But he doesn't feel like himself necessarily. I mean, I think his own personal comedic ways are similar to the character, obviously, but it just feels like that would be what Deadpool sounds like if you heard him in reality. So it works. And again, it fits well within the comic book universe and things like that. I will say this, with all the pending stuff with Disney possibly buying Fox and all this other stuff, this movie, you could literally lift it up, put it into the MCU, and it would totally work and fit. So I think that's likely where they're going to go with the future of this franchise, but it's not going to feel weird. Like, it feels like it could exist in that world, and that's kind of dope. Okay, check out Deadpool, 4.5 stars, and I'll see you next time. You're watching the Nerdpocalypse YouTube channel. Make sure you click that button to subscribe and check out our weekly podcast where we talk about movie, TV, news, tech, and weird stories from around the internet.